Welcome. Anyways, I'm glad you guys are here, and we're starting a new series. And this whole series is kind of like one of our series. We're just going to talk about the character and the person of God. I mean, we talk, obviously, the revolution is built around God's word. It's built around getting to know God. It's built around living a life that's following and trusting Jesus. That's kind of what we do here. But do you know him? Do you know God? When you pray, do you have a sense of like, I feel like I'm actually talking to somebody. I feel like in life circumstances, I have someone I can rely on, a relationship with something that's real and not just an idea, something that's more than just sort of a concept or like, my ADD is driving me crazy today. I just want to see you guys. I'm going to unplug this thing. Man, there we go. There you are. All right, you get what I'm saying? Following me? Oh, and that's going to be in the way of what we're doing. Hashtag ADD problems. Okay. But anyways, my hope for us as the next 4 weeks go on, as we even build up to Winter Camp and stuff, and for your whole life, is that you're actually getting to know who God is. That you're actually getting a chance to say, it's more than just I have this opinion about God and they have this opinion about God. But that God isn't an opinion. God isn't just a belief system. God is a person. God is a being. God is relatable. God is knowable. And God wants you to know him. And so the hope for us is that even as we talk about these things, that they would kind of frame a little bit how you talk to God. They frame how for instance, when you have a relationship with a person, you don't just study them on Facebook and call that a relationship. That's stalking. If you drive by their house and look in their window every time and you watch how they do stuff, and you can learn what they like to wear and what they like to do and what cereal they like to eat for breakfast, that's just called creepy. But when you hang out with them and you get to know them and you start to learn things about their character, you're like, well, I know that they're always like this. I know that when this happens, it's going to make them upset. How do you know when something happens with your friends, you get some breaking news in your friend circle and drama hits and drama. And immediately, if you're at the lunch table and that thing happens, you know who to look at. Because you know who it's going to affect, because you know who that person is. Or that other person comes in the room and you're like, oh, they're here? She's not going to like it. And you just know immediately, just based on circumstances, because you know certain things about people, and you know how they respond to certain things because you get a relationship with them. In the same way, the more that you know about who God is, and it takes time to actually get to learn about him, it's not just an educational experience. You're actually framing up your relationship with him. So that's what I hope happens here. You guys got it? You guys cool with that? All right. Anyways, enough of that. This series is called Impossible. Hashtag saliva problems. Saliva is another one of those words. That's not as bad. But anyway, saliva problems. Okay, this is going to be a hashtag night. Hashtag I have issues. So, moving along, it's called Impossible. Everyone say impossible. Yeah, now there are 4 things that are impossible for God. And a lot of times when we think about God, we don't think about things that are impossible. But for us as people, there are plenty of things that are impossible for us to do. We can't run at the speed of light. That's obvious. We can't walk on water. That's pretty obvious. There's a lot of things we can maybe build and create. But as human beings, we're filled with limitations. It is impossible to know everything about the world inside your brain. You just can't do that. It is impossible to know every single human being in the world and actually have a deep relationship with them. There are things that are impossible for us. This is nothing new because we are finite people. Do you know what finite means? It means you started with versus infinite. There's no ending. Finite, ending, fin. You guys, am I making sense here? Yeah, fine. I just can't tell. I'm getting off on topic. Anyways, infinite meaning no ending, and finite meaning ending. We have a beginning and an end, and so our whole world is filled with limitations, and because of that, there are things that are impossible. For instance, it is impossible for human beings to run through a wall, Kevin. Is that on? No. Oh, where's the sound, though? Do we have the sound? The sound go? What's that? No sound? Could we just watch it again then? Because it's just kind of... He actually gets some good height, and he gets really flat to the wall, which I'm actually rather impressed by. I would go to the wall and I'd hit my knees, but he's all body. That is form. It's impossible for us to run through a wall. And tonight we're going to talk about one of the things that's impossible for God, and that is change. It is impossible for God to change. We live in a world that's constantly changing. Your lives are constantly changing. Change is something that we're used to. It's something that happens for us. But have you ever thought about it? It is impossible for God to change. Now, a lot of times I think of God being able to do everything. He can do whatever he wants and all these other things. But this is one thing that is impossible for God, and that's good news for us. And we're going to get through it in just a second. I feel like there's a little ring in the room. I don't know if it's possible to notch that out. But change is a reality for us. And so for the person next to you, just want you to discuss real quick. This is a question I'm going to ask you guys to talk to. You're like, oh, here we go. First question is, are Sasquatch real? No. That's for another day. There's always these debates. Anyways, what are some of the biggest changes you think that people have to face in the course of their life? Okay, some of the biggest changes that a person faces in the course of their life. Turn to the person next to you and discuss. Come up with at least 3 each. What are some of the biggest changes? If you don't know the person you're sitting next to, introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name's so-and-so, and I'm pretty awesome, and these are the answers to the questions. What are some of the 3 biggest changes people go through in life? All right, changing gears, keep the conversation going, but add another person to the conversation, so make this like a 3 or 4-way conversation. Turn around and get a few people in here. Now, I want you guys are going to kind of be a team for just a moment, and I want you guys to answer this question. When you think about high school, what are maybe some of the biggest changes? And you think of like your friends, or you think of people that you know here. They don't have to be any specific details, but even just in the course of like the 4 years of you being in high school, what are some of the changes that people are facing in their lives or in their world? It doesn't have to be high school related, like I just changed periods to classrooms, like not like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be like something going on with their family. So just discuss. All right, we're gonna reel it in now. Just throw hands, like, raise your hand. What's a change that a person faces? I know we already had, you gonna say that one again? Oh, is this a different one? She said puberty before, so I don't know if she can say that again.
Moral, like moral.
Oh, morals. Okay, sometimes our morals can shift and change. So we have like one view of the world, and during like high school, sometimes like, I always thought this was right and wrong. But then in high school, you start to say, well, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe this is better. Maybe this is right. Maybe this is that kind of what you're saying? Like our morals can shift. Excellent one. Sure. Say it loud.
Your attitude.
All right, your attitude changes. Yeah, so emotionally, we change emotionally. Like our attitude changes towards life. How many guys went in, like, I don't know, like my freshman year to my sophomore year of high school, my attitude dramatically changed. Freshman year was awesome. We loved everybody. New friends, new circles. Everything was new. And then all of a sudden, drama started hitting. By sophomore year, I was like, I hate the world. And I hate chemistry. And I hate whatever. So all of a sudden, my attitude for like a whole 2.5 years of my life had this stink over it. And it was like my attitude. Great one. Anyone else on this side? All right, Corey, I want to shout it out, or do you want to say it in the mic?
Say your favorite word.
What? Okay.
Puberty.
Oh, he did it. It had to happen. All right, so yeah, we sometimes in life we go through some physical changes, people, and it's called puberty. And our emotions are going to change, and we notice our bodies start to change. Okay, enough of the health class. But yeah, sometimes there's just changes in our world because physically we change. All right, that's good. All right, Kelly.
Your sleeping patterns.
Sleeping patterns change. Okay, so like a good sleep, bad sleep. That's good. I mean, we're getting really specific here. I was expecting like some broad topics, but like, well, I changed what I had for breakfast yesterday. Today I slept on a pillow. Yesterday I slept on my sweater. This is great. But no, like your sleep patterns change, which is good. Like sometimes, yeah, that's good. All right.
Getting your license.
All right, getting your license. All right, so you get like mobility, freedom. Give it up for licenses. Yeah, all right. So how many of you guys have your license already? How many of you guys are getting it this year? Yes. Oh, okay. Only one person's getting their license this year? Is anyone else getting their license in 2016? Only one? Okay. A few of you guys. That's good. Driver's license coming. Excellent. All right, we'll take a couple more.
Your outfit.
Okay, like your outfit, your style. Like not just like, okay, I changed my outfit today, but like how many of you guys have changed style since you started high school? Like you look at yourself like a couple of years ago, like, ugh. How many of you guys like changed, like, okay, how many of you guys morph from style groups? Okay, because like, for instance, like you could be a part of like this group of friends and their styles all changed together. How many of you guys jumped lanes into a different style group? Did any of you guys do that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like all of a sudden someone came in and you're like, what? You don't wear like leather and studded earrings. That's not who you are. And you're like, it's who I am now. I'm not going to drop it. All right, good. Anyone? How many of you guys made changes in that lane this year? Anyone? How many of you guys are just like forever in like the hoodie and sweatshirt lane, and that's just where you're going to stay until kingdom come? All right, that's good. Good. We'll take one more because this is kind of fun. Any other changes on this side? I saw one up over here. Go ahead.
Jobs.
All right, jobs. So like our career changes, even like our ideas of what we want out of the world. Think about it. Think about what you wanted to be when you grew up, and how many of you guys still want to be that now? I want to be a freeloader. That's never changed. That's cool. That's good. That was me. So we'll do one more, Lori.
Your priorities.
Okay, priorities change. Absolutely. All right, good. These are great. All right, there's so many things in our own personal life that's going to change. Now I'm going to throw a couple more out there that are changes that are in our world. Some of them are good changes. Some of them are bad. Like sometimes we get a new identity. Sometimes we get a new hope. Sometimes we get like something else that's exciting. Sometimes we realize I thought I hated math, but I had this one teacher that inspired me, and I love math. There's probably maybe one person in that room. His name's Brian Radis. Oh, okay, we got a couple math lovers. Math lovers. But you fall in love with something. You fall in love with a subject. Maybe change can happen because you get introduced to something new. Some of you, for the very first time this year or the past year, have been like, you know what? I'm really getting to know God. That's a big change in my life. Some of you in your world and some of the world of your friends right now, other change is coming. And sometimes there's change that happens that's outside of our control. Our parents are splitting up. Our parents are fighting. Something happens in our life. We lose a loved one. Something bad happens. Or all of a sudden, like, our friends change and we didn't want to change. There's so many different ways that change affects our world in high school. Think about it. Change is reality. You are always changing. That's that physiological puberty word that we're talking about. But you're always changing. Your mind's changing. You're growing. All that stuff is always changing. Even when you grow up. Gosh, I'm out of breath. I got 2016 resolution. I'm going to work out in my mind. Who am I kidding? I'm just going to be like this forever. This isn't changing. That's one thing that won't change. But okay, you're always changing. Like, your goals change, your priorities change. Like, you are constantly changing. But you live in a world where you have friends, and your friends are also personally changing. Their interests are changing. And sometimes your life are kind of like this. Sometimes you're like this. Sometimes you cross paths, and sometimes you part ways. And you're living in a world where your social scene is constantly changing, and that could be stressful, that could be hard. You have friends right now that are wondering where their friends have gone. You have friends in this room right now wondering, like, where did people, I used to be the center of the group, and now I'm not anymore. We have people that are just going through all that stuff, and my thing just went out. So that's happening. You live in a place where your circumstances are always changing. We have things that are out of our control. Our families change, like we just talked about. We have divorce, we have difficulties, we have hardships. Sometimes things happen in our lives where we get introduced to things that are harmful and hurtful to us, and we tried it, and our circumstances start to spiral out of control. Sometimes we thought we were doing well in a subject, and now we start failing, and we start feeling like, I just kind of want to give up. Things that we thought were who we were start to not feel like who we are anymore, and we start to ask the question, who are we? Our circumstances are always changing around us that we can't control, and we have a world around us that is always changing. You live in a world that never stops changing. And so what do we do with all that change? And there's different types of change. There's circumstantial, emotional change. We talked about that. We change emotionally, we change physically. We have welcome change, and we have forced change. Meaning, like, I didn't want to change, but this change is being forced upon me. Like, this came crashing down, and I have to do this. And while some change is good, because we get bored or disinterested if everything stayed the same. I mean, how many of you guys want things really to stay the same? And we like change. We need change in our lives. Change is actually a good thing, but a lot of change is hard. And based on time, maybe we can do both, I don't know. I have two stories. Some of you guys may have heard me say this because I kind of like randomly blurt these things out with my ADD, and I can't remember if I said that anytime soon, so I apologize. So I'll give you a choice, basketball or armpit hair. These are two stories in my life. We can do basketball and armpit hair. Basketball? They're both entertaining. How many armpit hair? What? All you guys want that one? I'll do both. Because at least the first one's not as awkward. But it has to just do with change. Like, okay, like in junior high, like, I was good at basketball. I'm not bad at basketball now, but we kind of talked about this a little bit. But in junior high, I was pretty good at basketball. I was good for the team. I played well. I played a lot on my own. I did a lot of basketball, and I always made sure I kept up with the latest shoes because in those days, shoes made you a better player. And I remember just being like so excited about my new shoes. I remember being excited about like the new season. I remember being excited about how it was going to be a great year. I remember being excited how like we'd all kind of gelled as a team, and this was going to be the best yet. It was going to be awesome. We didn't say that then because that's this year, best yet. And but back then I was like, this is going to be a tremendous year, except over the course of that year, something changed. And it was kind of that word, puberty, I guess. But my body started changing. Like, all of a sudden, like, I started going from like this kind of thin, lanky kid to this sort of like, and I just felt like this little, like, stocky, everyone else was getting taller, and like, for some reason, all this stuff just kept growing, like I was gonna be like rocket fuel. I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna shoot up, but I was just, and like, I'm like, so this year, but I didn't fully notice it, but like everyone else seemed to be getting bigger and taller, and I was like still like here, and like I remember being like, oh, what's this year gonna look like? I'm still the same guy, right? Well, everyone got better, everyone got more athletic, and I just got more awkward. Oh, what the heck? And so I remember getting out there on the field, and I remember like, not field, because I know my sports. I was gonna go kick the football and basketball. It was gonna be amazing. It was gonna be the fourth quarter in basketball, and I guess there are quarters in basketball. Anyways, the third period, I don't know. Anyways, I was going to hit the hockey puck in the goal, in the basket, field goal. And I was out there, and I still remember Brian Lacine. and some of my guys. These were friends. We hung out during the summer, but something happened when we were out there playing, and he started this chant that when I was running down, like when we were doing like some of our scrimmage games, I was running down. He started every time I'd make steps, he'd use these two little words, blup, 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 blup. Now let me explain to you how that works. Blup, 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 blup. Blup, 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 blup. So every time I had to hustle, every time I was like, we're down here, we're shooting, I've got zone defense and stuff, and all of a sudden there's a rebound and they're going the other way, I would turn because I'm going to fight for my team, and as I'm running, my teammates are going, blup, 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 blup. Oh, that was dramatic. My blup blups broke this. Man, I'm out of breath again. Anyways, so it was like sad, like change was hard, but not only did like my physical change or lack thereof, it was out of my control. I didn't want it. I hated that change. I didn't want that in my life. This is all awkward now. Why am I talking on two microphones? I've been doing this the whole time. What's wrong with me, Kevin? Why didn't you tell me? This whole time I've been talking on two microphones. This is one of those nights. By the way, I really like the shirt. It says boo-hoo. Come on, isn't that an awesome shirt? Boo-hoo. Okay. I always wear superhero shirts underneath all this. Okay, I'm really sorry about this. No one stopped me. Didn't anyone even notice that? Okay. And no one said anything. Thank you. They're like, Mike's already giving a pity story. No one say anything. Everyone, shh. Hey, Mike, you're going to... Don't say anything. He's fragile. He's a fragile individual. Anyways, so blup blup. It was terrible. Blup blup was horrible, and it was all because of my change. I didn't like the change. I didn't like how I felt, and all of a sudden, this change changed how I saw myself. This change started to change, and it worked its way into the core of how I felt myself. And I used to be a confident basketball player, and now because felt like I was being watched, I was no longer being supported, I was being watched. My shot started going, and I stopped caring, and I stopped wanting to go to the games, and I just gave up and I quit. And even if today, if you go out there and you watch me shoot baskets, like I'm a terrible basketball player now, terrible. And every time I shoot baskets, I'm like, dang it, I'm gonna miss, and it's just like stuck in my brain. I've worked through my issues, of course, lots of therapy and lots of money, but all these things, but all because of change. It was a change in my life. Now, later on, things changed, and then my body changed a little bit more after that, and things were finally fine. But that change that I didn't ask about myself and didn't want brought change on my friends. It brought change how I saw myself, and my world kind of got inconsistent for a while. Can you guys relate? Sometimes change comes. You don't want it. Sometimes things happen in your life. You're like, I didn't ask for this, and now I have to deal with this. This is part of my story now, and I don't want this anymore, and I didn't ask for it. I mean, everyone else seems to get the good kind of change. Why did I get the bad kind of change? But change can sometimes be hard, and the armpit hair story, which you all asked for, I was actually just hoping you'd say basketball. I don't know why. I should have framed it something else other than armpit hair. This is a puberty story. I remember a freshman year of high school. Summer had gone. I had a new group of friends. I'd finally kind of recovered from some of the social stuff that happened for me in junior high and the blup blups. And I finally started getting a little bit more confident in myself, and we had this pool party at these friends. Now, there's some new people from other schools, like all hanging out at this pool party. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where all someone's like, hey, we're having a party. And there's people from this school there, and there's people, and they're like, wow, there's all these different people. And they're like, yeah, there's going to be other girls there too, and blah, blah. You're like, girls? Okay, enough said. I'm going to go. So I remember going to the pool, and I go to this thing, and everyone's out there. And like, I remember there's this girl named Sarah Putchcourse. Sarah Putchcourse. What a weird last name, though, actually. Now they're saying Putchcourse. Is there anyone know a Putchcourse in here? Good, just because it was a weird last name, and I feel really bad if I did. Like, that's my mom's last name. You're terrible. But anyways, I'm sorry. But it was a weird last name. But Sarah Putchcourse's weird last name, I still liked her a lot. I mean, I thought she was really, really beautiful. And I really thought she was hot, nice. And I thought she had a really great body personality. And so I thought we can really have a good conversation. And so we're going to go out there. And I'm getting up. You know, guys, you have to work it up. Like, you know where they are. And the moment they're in the room, they're on your radar constantly. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Bing, ding, 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 ding. It doesn't matter where you're looking, guys. We have the radar. Guys, am I right? We know where that girl is that we're interested. Guys and girls, I think you're the same way. But this person was out there, and I kept working it up. Like, I would try to do things that would look really, really cool when she would notice me. And I'm like, yeah, that looks really good. She's watching me, isn't she? Oh, no, she's not watching me anymore. See you guys later. And I go somewhere else, and I'd be like, what's up? And like, they're telling a sad story about how like their dog died, and I like want to look like I'm cool and funny. And I'm like, ha ha, we're the life of the party. Sorry, guys. And then like, what is happening, I'm making sure she is seeing me that we're cool. And then slowly, bing, ding, 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 ding. I'm working my way in, bing, ding, 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 bing, ding, ding, ding. But the pool party part started, and they had a volleyball net down there. And there was a few other of my friends that I hadn't seen in a while. And again, this is the summer where we didn't see each other a lot, and this is freshman year, and they start playing basketball, so shirts start coming off. Guys' shirts. Sorry. It's not that kind of party. Sorry about that. So they take off their shirts. These guys are like, some of them had 6-packs, and I still had my blup. That was a little bit hard. I lost some of my blup, so I was a little bit more confident, so my shirt's off and I'm in the water. But what really got me, and what really killed my confidence that day, was I remember seeing Alex go up, and the ball goes up, and he goes to spike it. He had armpit hair. And like he was kind of working on the same girl at the same time. I noticed all these guys were like, wow, you guys all like got like chest hair, and like some of you guys like actually have facial hair, and I'm like, I had like 3, okay? That's it. I'm like, man, this is terrible. Like another way, like, it's just a place to change. So I was really, and it killed my confidence. I was like, it went from bing, ding, 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 bing, ding, 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 to see you later. Like I was terrified. We ended up talking, totally blew it because I was nervous because I saw other people with armpit hair. True story. Isn't that weird? Okay. We're supposed to get to some kind of point tonight, and we're going to get there. So I'm sorry for that. There's like 7 minutes of your life you're never going to get back. But so forever, I still think about blup and armpit hair, and I still to this day don't have a lot of facial hair. I look like a rat on chemo. Like it's like when I try to grow it in, it's just a terrible thing. But there's all these things about our bodies and our images and stuff, and what happens is that change. I'm never going to recover from this night, ever. The tricky thing about change, though, is that we don't always ask for it, but no matter what happens with change, like we've got to deal with it, and we got to go somewhere with it. And some of us are going through some pretty big changes in life. And change can be stressful. Even good change can be stressful. We're moving to a new house. It's going to be an awesome house, but I'm saying goodbye to my memories. Like my mom's been a single mom for a long time, and she's finally met somebody, and I'm like happy for her, but now I got this new person to deal with in my life. There's all these different things that come our way, and sometimes even for us, like we have good changes, we start getting better at stuff, but sometimes things fall our way, and it's stressful. And even the older we get, the harder it gets to change, and the harder it gets to face change. So where does God fit in all of this? Where does your relationship fit with God in the midst of all these changes and the things that you face in your life? Where do you go with that? And the good news is, and I'll explain why it's good news in just a minute, but the Bible tells us that God never changes, that God is constant, that God is steady. He's the immovable mover. Does that make sense? Let's explain that for a little bit. Like we live in a world where everything has action and a reaction, right? Everything is started with something. When you put a chain, when you push something, it goes. Like there's always something moving something. It's like physics, right, Brian? Physics? Yep, something like that. And did I nail it, really? Hashtag scholar. Blup. Anyways, but the fact that God sets everything in motion. God has put the world and the universe in motion. The world is constantly in a state of flux and change, but God himself never changes. And that's good news for us because that means God's character, God's love, God's nature, God who is the very essence of what makes God God, never changes. The Bible, there's a writer in Psalm 102, and these are just, if you ever read Psalms, they're songs, they're poems, they're people journaling to God about who God is in real life circumstances. So I encourage you, if you ever pick up and you see, what's this Psalm, psalm? Psalms are songs and these things written to God. And it says this, and it's this beautiful truth about God. He says, of old, you laid the foundations of the earth. Basically, God, you made everything and of the heavens. Like everything I see are the work of your hands. But even these things, they will perish, but you will remain. They will wear out like a garment, and you will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. I mean, how much in life do we see like dying and rebirth and life and death and all these things? Life comes and life goes. Creation and nature comes and it goes, but you are the same, and your years have no end. God is always the same in the midst of an ever-changing world. God never changes. And there's this heavy sort of theological world called immutable. Can you say immutable? It's a lot better than the other words we've been saying here. So immutable. It means unchangeable. It's the same word as mutation. You get the word mutation, right? So God is immutable. God doesn't change. And what that means, again, is that his character, his persons, his essence, his nature, the very core of what makes God's God, which I just said a moment ago, will never change ever. That means and nothing, on the flip side of that, nothing changes God. That's important to know. Nothing in this world, nothing that happens in this world, none of the changes that happen to you, and none of the changes you go through, or the changes you make in your life, or the changes that you bring to other people's lives, because your life is changing other people, for the good or for the bad. We all change one another. We are facing change. But it doesn't matter what we go through, we don't change God. We don't change him, which means our lives don't change God, our world doesn't change God, our circumstances don't change God, and our emotions don't change God. God is God, and that doesn't change, which means he is steady and reliable. And why is that good news? Because if I'm honest, I tend to view God based on how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life. I tend to base God as when I'm good, God is good. When I'm going through a tough state, I tend to question if God cares or if God is even there. When I'm messing up in my life, I kind of feel like God is going to give up on me or God looks less on me. If I screw up or I've made bad decisions in my life or I've put people down or I've lied or I've done horrible things or I've done sinful things or even if I've just done little things, or maybe I'm just failing at school and I don't have any vision for my life and my friends seem like they're all going places and I don't, that means God's view and God, who God is and how he sees me still doesn't change. Or even when I'm doing good, sometimes I can convince myself that I'm doing better with God and somehow I'm better in God's eyes, but God still sees me the same. And there's a lot of metaphors in the world that describe who God is, but before I get there, I'd like to invite two people that are relatively good builders that can build behind me relatively quickly. You got two builders? No one? All right. Oh, no, we want a student. We got two students. Okay, come on up, and then we just need one more person. All right, come on up. All right, so this isn't like a hard challenge, and you're just going to do this while I talk. Can you guys do that for me? Now, this isn't necessarily about like building it as high as you can, but if you can build a tower, these are your blocks right here. Not really a competition, so don't race against them, but try to build a structure that is as high and sturdy as you can make it. Okay, so use the side things, go this way if you want. Go this way. Just make sure that I don't die and it doesn't fall on me and kill me. Because I have a family. And they're expecting... She got my family. Thank you. All right, so you guys got that? You guys start building it? All right, good. So look at that. I guess I didn't realize you guys are brothers and sisters. Really? You're twins? That's awesome. You're shaking your head. So is that a joke or are you guys really twins? So we got twins here. We got triplets. Anyone else that are twins that I don't know about in here? Sisters? I know we got brothers and sisters. Okay, so build this up as high as you can if you want. You can build it like this. Try to get the tower kind of tall. All right. Without it all falling down. But do what you want and build it out there. All right. So while they're building this, I'm going to continue the things there. But there are a lot of different metaphors. Actually, we're going to go to that in a minute. But here's the thing about our world that changes and God being the same. This is really important for us to get. Is that when the world betrays you, when people betray you, God is faithful. When people leave you or change, God is still going to be steady and he is going to be with you. When your emotions go up, God is the same. And when your emotions go down, God is the same. That means when you're at your lowest and you can't see God in the darkness, you can trust that he's there and he hasn't changed. Sometimes you need to remember what's true in the light, in the darkness, what you knew to be true in the light. I'll say that again. Sometimes you need to remember what's true in the darkness, what you remember to be true in the light. Sometimes in your life, you go through experiences and stuff. And this is good news again, because actually, I'll keep going through this. But when we fail or have bad days, it hasn't changed how God sees you or what he thinks about you. There's this letter in the New Testament called Hebrews, and it's all about how God has rescued us through Jesus. It's in the New Testament. But he says this about Jesus in Hebrews 13:8. It says, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That means the same Jesus that you said, I'm giving my life to. I'm trusting for my salvation. In that moment that you felt like I was baptized here and wherever, you're baptized in your life. And those moments that felt like so real, and you just felt like God was so close, you could just reach out and touch him. Those moments that Jesus you were loving and praising, they're the same Jesus is there in those moments that you can't feel him, or he feels like he's distant, or that you feel like he's not there, or you feel like your world is falling apart. Jesus is still the same. The same Jesus you trusted then is the same Jesus you can trust now. And again, life is going to have lots of ups and downs, but the only constant thread in your life or in our lives is Jesus. Sometimes we're actually about to go to camp, and have you guys ever heard the phrase camp high? And it's not that kind of high. It's just that sense of like, wow, everything is so awesome. We went together. We're going to be best friends forever. You guys are doing amazing, by the way. Give him a round of applause for that. All right. Oh, he's still building. He's still going. He's a little nervous. So make sure it doesn't fall, though, because I need those to be standing. But we go through that camp high, these moments where we feel like, I just felt so close to God, things were really awesome, and then sometimes we start to not trust God because we felt him one time, but we don't feel him then. But that a lot of times is connected with our emotions and our connection with God through our emotions. But God hasn't changed, and our feelings towards God don't change who he is. Does that make sense? I know I'm repeating myself in a lot of different ways here, but I'm hoping that it's connecting at different angles and certain intersections with our lives. Does that make sense? Are we getting somewhere with that? All right. That means, guys, for us as a revolution, that means for you as a follower of Jesus, we always have a reason to praise because Jesus never stops saving, and he never stops saving us. That means you'll always have a reason to hope because Jesus never stops coming for you and never gives up on your life. That means we'll always have a reason to sing because God's love never fails. We always have a reason to give our all because we know that the one who loves us is faithful, and in the end, it's going to all be worth it. Many religions and different ideas in the world have different ways of describing God: energy, flow, essence, light, all that kind of stuff. The Bible is no different in the sense that God gives himself names in the Bible to help us understand and relate to him. And one of the number one most frequent used metaphors that God chooses in the Bible is rock. One of the number one ways that God describes him in the Old Testament to explain to his people what he's like and what he's going to be like for them is the word rock. And it says this in Psalm 18:2. The Lord is my rock. He is my fortress and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, the stronghold. The horn of my salvation is like a battle cry. Like he's the one that we like call, and just everything in my salvation proclaims him. He is the one who proclaims my salvation. But it goes back to say that the Lord is my rock. He is what I stand on in an ever-changing world. He is what I rely on when everything else is unreliable. He is the rock. His works are perfect. Sorry, this is Deuteronomy 32. It says that he, God, is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong. He is upright and just. Oh, you guys can both sit down, by the way. I'm sure it's probably getting awkward. I should have said that. I didn't know if you were still building. So one more round of applause for them, for these great towers and stuff. But you are always going to be in a state of becoming because you are created, you are made, you are finite, you are growing and you're developing and you're changing. Each one of us is building our lives and changing. And the world around you is going to change. But underneath all your changes is a core belief system that defines everything else. It's going to be the thread, it's going to be the steady, it's going to be the constant. We can't avoid change, but when we build our lives on God, we have a steady foundation that will never fail us. The more you get to know God and take time understanding who he is, his character, and his purposes for your life, the more you spend time learning about him here, reading God's word, the more you're learning something that will never change in your life and something you can always go back for as a foundation to build up again and again when everything else comes crashing down. We have two different structures here, one to the left and one to the right, and it's really hard to pick which one to do this to, and it's not personal at all. I swear. Okay, well, since you said it, I'll do it. Let's just say that this right here, this foundation represents God, okay? Right here on the ground. This represents anything else that we could try to build our life on. Fame, money, success, popularity, our looks, our finances. Maybe it's just stability, maybe it's love, maybe it's romance. The things that we hope for to make our lives and build our lives around. I'm going to build my life with my spouse. I'm going to build my life by having a good family. I'm going to build my life by finding that dream job. I'm going to build my life, whatever it is that we're searching for to try to build our lives on. This represents God, his character, his ways, his nature, his goodness, his kindness, everything else. God never changes. Our life and our circumstances do. And if we try to build up who we are on something that changes, or we start to take all our choices and we like, maybe this represents our education, maybe this represents our identity, maybe this represents our family, maybe this represents good times and bad times. These are all the things that have been building up your life and who you are. These things here are just the same kind of things. Over here, though, if you try to build the foundation on anything else, when that shifts and that moves, everything falls. And when that moves completely, there's nothing left to stand on. Does that make sense? You have an opportunity to get to know God, and the great news is because he doesn't change, you have a steady thread that you can build up everything up and around. And when you don't know where to turn, you have something solid to stand on because God is our rock. And here's another image just to give you, is that even when life crumbles down on you, that's loud. Because God never changes, you have something you can build up again on. So even when you can crash and fall a million times in your life, you got something steady and reliable to build your life back on. And so as students now and for the rest of your life, what are you building your life on? And when things go crazy in your life and you start to question who God is, do you have enough knowledge? Do you know God? Have you spent time in here to say, okay, I remember that about God. I remember when I felt close to him. I remember that Bible verse that he said that encouraged me then. Can you draw that to your mind now and say, even though I don't see it in the darkness, I can know this is true and this won't change my life and it won't fail me now. God never changes, and that means in the midst of our changes, we can trust at the core of who you are is someone that's loved by God. At the core of who you are is someone that's loved by God. James 1:17 says this, and I'm going to send you your C groups from here. I'm going to go to the last verse, Kevin. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. God is reliable, and everything that's good that comes from him is perfect. It's a good and perfect gift, and you can trust in what he gives you. And I just want to encourage you, if you haven't ever said to God, God, I want to build my life on you. I want to build my life on your foundation. You could do that right here tonight. You don't have to wait to do it in your C group. You can do it even when you go home. It doesn't have to be right now in this moment. But I just want to encourage you, just even in your own hearts, to say, okay, God, like Mike said these things. I heard these things. It kind of made sense to me, but I want this to be real between you and me. That's when it starts to get real for you, is when you can take this stuff and bring it to him and then talk about it together and support each other in that walk. Let's build our lives on the unchanging reality of who God is. And let's discover him to be faithful and constant and true in a world that never stops changing around us. Let me pray. Jesus, we love you, and we thank you that in the midst of our blup-blups, in the midst of our armpit hairs, in the midst of the things that don't go our way, even in the midst of things that change and get taken away from us, even when we change in good and bad, that you stay the same. And because of that, we can trust in your word. Because of that, we can trust in who you are. And because of that, we can always build our lives on you. So would you help us tonight to make that decision, to make that commitment to you? We can just say in our own hearts, and you can pray this with me, guys. God, I want to build my life on you. Thank you that you don't change. I'm trusting in you. I'm trusting in Jesus and what he did, and that will never be taken away from me because nothing can be taken away from you, and you never change. In Jesus' name, all God's people said, amen. You guys can go to your C groups. If you don't have a C group or you're looking for one, come talk to me or talk to another student. They'll bring you somewhere, party with each other, high five. Don't forget Whiteout. Have a great and amazing